Another example, our friend Erica. She is the national leader in Portugal.
Or Eric, as
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
How does it look like for Erica?
Well, Erica, if we often have made the mistake in the past that whoever's there first kind of takes some sort of territorial authority, and often that's gone wrong for us. So we need to keep assuring Erica that if she has two small teams in two cities, she's not sort of the person who can say no to all the teams coming into Portugal because they don't meet the high standards of cultural sensitivity. But we also want to encourage her to draw together the leaders of those bases on some agreed regular basis to start developing a sense of common purpose for the nation, passion, intercession, so on. But we don't want to see those kinds of groups strengthen cultural bondages. And oftentimes, when our elderships have gathered in nations, we end up strengthening cultural bondages and keeping people out. So Erica needs to be in fellowship with the people in Spain and the people in France and the people all around them to keep that open, visionary, welcoming spirit.
Good. That clarifies a lot. What about our friend Jacob, who is the regional leader over all the Mediterranean islands? How does he make this work?
Well, that's completely fictitious, so I can't answer that one.
Okay. Then what other example can I find? What about a real region? Let's say.
Yeah, North Africa
Africa.
Or Central Asia.
Good. Okay.
Well, I think they've done so well. I think at all points we don't normally recognize a region until there are quite a lot of number of locations and nations and ministries going on, and then you already have an emergence of eldership. But what we're increasingly saying, you see that as we go on through this week together, is that one of their main responsibilities is to keep convening and adding vision and strengthening values and convening in all the spheres, so that we're increasingly not only evangelizing and discipling, but we're also beginning to see real transformation in that region. So there's just so much vision that regional leaders especially are the stewards of that vision and the implementers of it. And they meet together as often as they can. And some of these regions are big, and they've started meeting in sub-regions already. Terrific, if that really works. But always come back together often enough that you keep that unity.
Yeah, great. So in the Founders Council, that is kind of an eldership too. How do you function there? What are you doing?
No, mostly we sit on Lauren and Dar's lanai and eat.
Okay.
Yeah, the Founders Circle is a group of friends whom Lauren and Dar feel comfortable with and have drawn together. Okay, and we were about to expand it, I think 3 years ago, because it needs to be expanded, and we had a real strong word from one of our most trusted prophetic people saying, do not expand it yet. Your unity is much more important than the representation of gender and nationality and ethnicity and so on. Not yet. But that was a few years ago, and we feel now it's now clearer. Our unity is terrific. We are able now, like for this event, to draw several other people into it. We haven't made a fanfare about that, but we've drawn together Edwin and Ken and you and David. Of course, David is, I don't know how we do this, but David's been meeting with us fairly regularly for the last 2 years, and we just really need him. So he's going to stay, we think. And some people will serve for a 2-year cycle for our next convening. And, David Cole, because he was hosting this too, and he's been wonderful, as you can see. So we draw them together because really the primary thing we do, we're not governmental. In fact, is, none of these regional groups are really governmental. If an issue arises, you got to find the people with the closest relationship to sort out problems. You know how badly it works when we try to sort it out through organizational lines. Oh boy, I can tell you horror stories of how you try to sort out a problem because that person's in charge. Does not work. Our best opportunity, our best chance of sorting something out is where's the strongest relationships. Yeah, and then it doesn't always work, but that's the best chance. So I think that's very important. And so the main thing we do is really to draw the mission together and try to get the mind of the Lord on what we should do when we're together and give platform for God to work.
Yeah.
So we'll do it with another group of people for the next time we convene in 2 years' time. And I think some people that we draw together may stay on, but we can't become too big a group because, we have a specific task and big groups take a long time to get things done.
Thank you, Lynn. This really helps. Let's give Lynn a big hand. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Let's group together in groups of 5, 6 people, turning our chairs around. And let's look at a couple of questions. One of them to visit together is to read from 1 Timothy 3, 1-7, where it just talks about some of the elements of the requirements of the maturity of the aspects of their godliness and of their way of life that is expressed there, to familiarize us with that scripture, to just see what are those requirements and just read that together, dialogue around that. And then from there, we would love to go to the question and say, how do you implement this eldership, leadership way where you are living, where you are ministering, where you are engaging? We are aware there is a lot of variety when you turn your chairs and you meet with 4 or 5 other people. So there is a learning also together what that means. And as we express that, we will also ask the question, what is hindering? What are obstacles in actually doing so? What is limiting us to move towards that? What are aspects that are like iron gates that we are standing on, and how could we overcome them? What are ways how we could actually see them broken open, these chains removed, so that we can walk into this way of leadership as God has called us and as He has assigned for us? So I think that will give us a bit of discussion and dialogue. Then we will go around and get some feedback from you. There is also the aspect of any feedback you love to write on paper that you can hand in if you are processing tonight or tomorrow morning and you would love to hand aspects of your convictions, of your ideas or revelation, then we love to read that. There is an email address where you also can send emails, and we look at the more forum-style page where we can also send stuff and post them and then also respond to it. And once we bring our dialogues to a closure, then we will take a moment for questions to Lynn and to John and to Jim and to our friends, so that we can walk away with also finding answers for very specific questions we have. Okay? Is that an assignment clear for? No? Okay. Okay, so we will group with 4 or 5 others. Okay? Then we will read together 1 Timothy 3, 1-7. And the first question is, what are those requirements that Paul instructed Timothy to look for? Secondly, once that is completed in your group, then you move on and you ask the question to each other, how do you live and implement this eldership style of leadership where you are at and in your roles and in your functions and responsibilities? How does that go? It's a word that is about 12 years old that God spoke to us, and how are you doing with the implementation? And then thirdly, what are obstacles that you face, so that you see iron gates where you say, we would love to do that, but this is really hindering us, and what would be some solutions to actually break through that? Okay?